Everybody, we're ready to go?
Yes, Vice Chair, since our chair has not joined at this time, if you could start the meeting as we see her come online, we'll let you know. We can hand over the reins.
All right, with this, I'll call this meeting of the design review to order. Please join me with the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
Okay, its first item is call to the community. Do we have any requests to speak? This would only be for things that are not on the agenda. Hearing none, I assume we don't. Moving on. Item 4, response to call to the community. I assume that we don't have any of that either. Okay, first order of business is approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
And that's the December 4th, 2024 minutes. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bob seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're now moving on to, having done that, first item of business is B, the approval or consideration of approval of a backyard pavilion. And I'll turn that over to our planning director.
Vice Chair, members of Design Review Board, thank you for your attendance this evening. You'll note as we have a new council member sitting on the dais with you this evening. Thank you, Councilmember Rainer Watson, for joining us and being on this board.
Thank you.
Item 5B is simply titled the Backyard Pavilion. The applicant is Billy Barr. He's sitting in the front row for you. He is at 14928 West Escondido Drive North. His request this evening is to build a freestanding pavilion in the center of his backyard, and we'll discuss that further for you. The zoning is R16 PD Plan Development. It's within the village. The request would add this freestanding accessory structure mostly in the center of the yard. And part of this request is a deviation from the architecture of the principal structure. I'll explain it in more detail. The proposal has a stone base with wood columns and a metal roof. As far as how that would look, the applicant has provided these imagery. Again, it's located pretty centrally located within his backyard, surrounded on all sides by more of his yard. Just in comparison to the proposal in the house, to give a sense of context, this would be the street view of the house as well, just to give the comparison. As far as the analysis goes of this proposal, this pavilion is fully screened from all sides. It is located in the middle of the backyard. Now, Section 39 does outline those design requirements, which this proposal is requesting be modified with the metal roof instead of, the asphalt shingles. At your discretion and, staff's recommendation, we feel as though the alteration from using asphalt shingles within a freestanding pavilion, instead using the metal, makes sense in this regard. But, just from the code standpoint and your purview standpoint, the note there as far as design of accessory structures shall be compatible with the principal buildings with respect to color, materials, and form. In this way, we do feel as though the structure is still compatible with the principal residence, the house. And we have not received any public comments on this proposal.
Okay.
As far as staff's recommendation, we would move to approve the proposed pavilion. This is case number PZ 2503. It's located at 14928 West Escondido North. Subject to the exhibits provided by the applicant within your packet this evening, and one stipulation, which is simply a building permit is required to be issued by the city before any construction is to occur. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well to answer any questions you may have for him.
Okay, and any questions of Mr. Poach?
A comment. It's really way over there.
What's that?
It's way over there, way in the west, way in the far northwest corner. And I walked around it and, it's nice that there's a gravel road for the waterway that they can bring equipment in and reach over to get in the backyard. So
I have a question. How does the height of this structure compare to the primary? It seems like it's probably much lower, but I don't see an actual dimension on the plan, so I just wanted to double check.
Thank you. I can pull that up. I'm sure Billy knows that off the top of his head. Sorry, the roof line is at 8 foot 10 inches. The overall height. Thank you. I can't do that math in my head. It is still significantly lower than the principal structure I have. The depiction, you can see I'm gonna call it a turret for lack of a better word, the centralized feature of the house. The roof lines, including the garage, are a peaked roof. And then as far as comparison goes, the top plate, I'd say, are very similar in location. However, the roof of the house certainly extends well beyond the height of the pavilion.
Yeah, any other questions?
I'm good.
All right, does the applicant have anything that he would like to add?
I want to really want development of the backyard, so like in the sunroom and the barbecue.
Okay,
Yeah, the main thing is the roofing material.
Billy.
because
If you could, just for the record, there's a microphone, just so we have it
Oh,
captured.
you don't allow not to be here, so.
Just in case, please.
Just a deviation for the.
we're taping and it's more of making sure it picks up what you're saying.
So the main thing is just the roofing material, because I want to use a nice metal roofing to kind of give it a more, not really contemporary look, but more of a kind of like East Coast look. If it makes sense versus the cement tile on the house. So, and that's really kind of the only concern that I have. I kind of want to stay true to with the looks of what I want to build. That's about it.
Okay,
Colors will all match the rest of the house.
okay. Do any of the board members have any questions of the applicant? Nope. No? Someone like to make a motion? Bob Dare, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that we approve as recommended by the board or by the committee.
That includes the requirement for the building permit issued by the
Absolutely.
city.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. That it's approved and we will move on. Thank you. Okay, our next item is consideration of a new Ramada, item C, and I'll turn it over again to Mr. Butler.
Then you can slide. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 5C is titled New Ramada. The applicant, once more, is Billy Parr on behalf of Jordan Todd. The address is at 1099 Oro Vista. And this request is to build a freestanding Ramada in their backyard. The zoning is R1. It's adjacent to the course. It backs, or the backyard faces the course. The request would add a freestanding cantilevered accessory structure against the golf course. And then again, there's different deviations in this request from the architectural principal structure, which I will explain in more detail. It is generally a CMU block wall on one end. I have pictures for you. So this is a description before the actual images with Duralam columns and roof line. As far as the depiction goes, the proposal is there on the left-hand side of the screen. Just follow the James Bond outline, just to make sense of it. The pavilion itself is located not directly adjacent, but off to the side as far as to the house. How that looks in context, you'll see pop up as far as how the house is, where the solid walls and view fencing are in relation to the golf course and where this pavilion is located. From the street, it would be somewhat visible, certainly, and this gives you a sense of what the architecture is for the house as well, so that you would see it, I'd say right about here, if I were a betting man, as far as how that looks from the street side. Now, this is different from the previous presentation, and I'd ask we consider these items independently, but using that one as reference. This is visible from our right-of-way and from the adjacent golf course. Now, again, within section 39, it is compatible, however, not exact match. And I think we've seen, over the years of these sorts of installations, there has been deviations, there has been harmony, but not mirror images of these sorts of installations. And certainly we appreciate anyone that wants to take the time to go through this process correctly versus all the illegal structures, and certainly make these sorts of improvements within their yards. And similar to the last, we have not received any public comments on this proposal. Now, in this instance, there are two stipulations. You'll notice in the second one, there's a need for on-site retention for the 100-year 6-hour event. That is only because the previous presentation has a pool. In case of massive flood event, the pool can take that sort of situation. This is always our catch-all from our city engineer to ensure that we do not flood the house or flood the streets, especially, you know, around there on the north end of our community. There's been some situations where there have been flood concerns, certainly. So our request for you is to approve the proposed Ramada. This is PZ 2507, located at 1099 North Oro Vista, subject to his exhibits and stipulations 1 and 2. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this proposal as well.
Do any of the board members have any questions, Mr. Crawford?
You say that the materials are compatible, but I'm just curious, do we have any samples or do we know, like, is the CMU gonna be remaining, there or is it gonna be painted or, you know, and like, is it wood? It looks like wood maybe in the, just wondering if we could have a little bit more information about the materials.
Sure. Vice Chair, Board Member Dudley, I'd be happy to answer the questions I know off the top of my head, and I'd ask the applicant step to the lectern once more to fill that in. The big the harmony we feel is in the Durlam, which is the column. And I can point at it a little bit better for you. CMU wall here to hold the TV, Durlam column here, and the roof line. That is very compatible with the fascia board that you would see on the roof line. Excuse me, wrong button. Let me go back.
So does it have a finish or is it?
As far as the block wall off the top of my head, I do not know. I'd ask that we defer to the applicant in that question.
Question about that, the block wall, is that gonna back up to the golf course or is it gonna be backing up to the house? I wasn't clear on which direction.
Yes, Board Member Derry, I believe the wall is to the west to hide that, thank you, to certainly hide that western sun in the afternoons and enjoy the TV and other events that may
Okay,
transpire.
yeah.
So the CMU wall kind of essentially would, from the street, maybe block the view of the golf course because it's solid. I think you're probably gonna see that.
So,
Like, is this looking sort of like, what would it be, like northwest in this image?
sure, so, Board Member Dudley, if you were on the street looking at the front door, the wall would not be blocking you. It'd be perpendicular to your view shed into the golf course from the street. It is, let's call it facing northwest, not true because it's not, you know, cardinal directions in this location, but it would be blocking the adjacent neighbor. It would not be blocking the sight lines into the golf course.
Any other questions?
Actually, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Crouch? Yes, go ahead.
Does it impact side views from any of the other neighbors?
So, Councilmember Brainerd Watson, this has been something that's come up a lot within the last several years as far as the Design Review Board and our purview in implementing the regulations within Section 39 of the zoning code. At one point, decades ago, probably pre-incorporation, there was a standard and thought that houses along the golf course not only were required to have a view fence adjacent to the course, but also between residents.
Right.
It has been my understanding and my direction on these internal reviews that the view into the golf course for each resident needs to be maintained. However, over the years, people have changed to walls, changed to hedge walls, because there is a sense of some privacy wanting to be enjoyed within their own backyards and not have views from neighbors to neighbors. So in this regard, it's been my understanding and my direction for these sorts of applications that there isn't a need to maintain views from one private residence into a different private residence.
Any other questions for Mr. Bush? Okay, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Okay, same one. Come on up and state your name
So
again.
now that I have some experience, to answer your question, Councilmember Watson, where that media wall, the CMU media wall is going, for lack of a better term, it runs north and south, which would be perpendicular to the golf course. So from the street view, you would just see the end of the wall. You wouldn't see it blocking the golf course view.
Right.
From the neighbor's perspective, they actually have a hedgerow that is taller than me that goes right in between the property line to give them privacy from that property already. So I don't see where there would be a discrepancy or complaint from that customer to get privacy because they already have hedges that block it. So, and we kind of took that into account. The materials, in case you want a little more clarification, so it's going to be a CMU wall that is block stucco and painted to the residence. And Randy, if you could go back to the previous where you had your James Bond spyglass out. We're also building a swimming pool that is already under construction and has shotcrete between basically from the existing pergola area there going east. It's already under construction. So that pergola is going to give us basically two things. One, they're going to have shade, and two, they're going to have the afternoon sun. And their spa is just adjacent to it, so it'll give them some privacy from their spa to the neighbors next door. So it's serving multiple different reasons, but mainly for privacy and shade, like just that I like in my house. So I have a north facing backyard, so that shade's a premium in the summertime. So the top is going to be Duraloom, which is a stamped aluminum that kind of have a texture to it. We can alternate the colors, but I do know the homeowner next year or later this year is going to be doing a full remodel and a house addition going to that west side. So even if you were at the curb, as soon as their remodel plans are done, all of that would be blocked from the street anyways. And the entire house is getting demoed, not demoed, but excuse me, refaced toward the end of this year as soon as we're done. So they want to get this done before they, don't have access to it anymore. So hopefully.
So you say that this particular house is gonna do a gut and remodel?
Absolutely.
Okay, in addition to what they've done, because when I went by the other day, I was wondering why all those piles of dirt. So they're doing the pool, then they want to do this, and then they'll go.
Correct. You notice how the roof is pretty tattered, needs to be replaced, and it just needs some attention, and they bought it with the intention of remodeling the whole thing. They're starting with the backyard and then working their way forward. Which is in my heart because that's what I do.
Are there any further questions for the applicant?
This one just curious. I'm familiar with Aluma wood, but I'm sorry, I'm new to this committee. Duraloom.
Duraloom, basically different manufacturers. You have Four Seasons, Duraloom, Aluma Wood. So Aluma Wood's a generic term. Duraloom is a specific manufacturer. Four Seasons is another manufacturer.
And it's paintable. Right?
Yeah, the colors are identical. You couldn't tell one from the other. It's, freaking frack. So Coke and Pepsi.
There are different finishes that you can select within that range, right? Like,
Yeah, so the actual texture is the same, and then you get different colors of the same material. It's an extruded aluminum.
Right.
So I guess that's what my question was. If they're going to redo the exterior, are they taking that into, surely they are taking that into?
Yeah, the color, yeah. So the color's all going to match.
Okay,
The house, I believe, is slump block with a tile roof on it.
right.
Slump block's pretty hard to get these days. But yeah, it's all one master kind of design that's gonna flow once the house is done and everything. Kind of updating it to more contemporary look, but not so much that it doesn't fit in the neighborhood.
Any other question?
Nope, I'm good, thank you. Go ahead, your turn to make the motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the package with the stipulations made by the city for the
And then you.
1099 North Oro Vista, the package for 1099 North Oro Vista.
Okay, including recommendation 1 and 2 concerning the building permit and on-site retention, et cetera.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All the, actually, did we have a
Are you
second?
second?
I'll second
Bob
it
had
then.
a second. Sorry, I didn't check with you. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, thank you. Now we will move on. We just completed the Lumada, and we are now to item D, approval of the Thomas Comprehensive Sign Program.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and just for the record, I do not see that Chair Troneski has joined us, so thank you again for filling in this situation. Item 5D is Thomas. This is a comprehensive sign program request. The applicant owner is Brian O'Connor, sitting here in the front row. The address is 447 South Old Litchfield Road. Many of you know this as Vestato. The zoning is PFPD. It's public facilities with a plan development overlay. A number of changes, alterations, and amendments that were made in order to find success for this project, which once is a church and is going to be so much more, quite frankly, when it's done tomorrow, maybe in a few days from now. The request would create new sign allowances for building mounted signs, freestanding signs, murals, and lighting. Now, the other caveat with this is the city is in the midst of updating section 35 of the zoning code. That has not yet taken place. This does not conflict with today's code nor tomorrow's code, but if you haven't been following along with P&Z commission meetings or city council meetings, I would encourage you because we have a lot of things going on that side of the house. As far as depictions go, you'll note within your packet, the entirety of the comprehensive sign program is included. All of our non-residential centers, so Plaza in the Park, the Fry's, Albertsons, the Dignity Health anchored center, they all have comprehensive sign programs. It is currently a code requirement of ours for these sorts of multi-tenant, multi-use, multiple building sort of sites to create the standards in which all future development within will use. So the applicant has provided some depictions of the signs that we know that are going in soon and some situations where we don't know where the signs are going to go tomorrow, but declaring the certain areas of the buildings, and again, there are several buildings on site, that would be the most ideal locations. These allowances outlined in the CSP are a deviation by their very nature of what is permitted. And again, we are trying to address today's concerns as well as a large number of future uses in different businesses within this site. The last part of what is being considered for you this evening is the freestanding sign that will be at the corner of Old Litchfield and Indian School Road. This is the center's identification. You'll see on the right, and then multiple tenant panels on the left. You know, we do anticipate this being fully utilized by the amount of businesses that are there. As far as our analysis goes, we do feel as though these alterations are consistent with the size of this building. It's a very large building, multiple buildings. So coming up with our path towards solution through the CSP is certainly appreciated and will give us, you know, guidance moving forward. Now, the other part of his consideration within the comp sign program is for murals. If you were unaware or you haven't heard me make the joke previously, the federal court has declared that any sort of regulations on content are a violation of freedom of speech. This was a court case called Reed versus Town of Gilbert, happened to our neighbors on the other side of town with a church that had different allowances based on their message. And for example, they said, turn left for church, and were permitted a certain size. The person next door that had an open house sign was permitted this size. And by declaring different allowances based on what it said was deemed a violation of First Amendment. I say that story to tell you that it is not in the city's best interest to declare what is art versus what is advertisement. A mural, an example I always use is a panda eating something bamboo on the side of a building is art, but you put that in front of a fast food restaurant, now it's advertising. And we do not want to be in the situation where we're declaring what is commercial speech versus non-commercial speech. It's not a road we want to take. So for this CSP, we do plan to have murals. We are just declaring that under the umbrella of signage, and there are allowances within the CSP, for those sorts of installations. Now, the other part that is a deviation from our allowances, but certainly we do feel is a good fit for this situation, is lighting. In the public facilities district today, building signs are not permitted. As part of our amendment that is going through P and Z and City Council, we are going to permit non-illuminated building signs. Think the sign right outside this door that says Florence Brinton Litchfield Memorial. That is an illegal sign. Our sign that says Rec Center down the street is an illegal sign. Litchfield Elementary. Those are all, by letter of law, not consistent with our code requirements, which we don't feel is appropriate. We do want to change that. This proposal this evening wants to take that a step further by backlighting or halo lighting the two main signs within the center. I'll go back to. So first would be the one that faces Indian School Road. There is not any residence in front of that situation that is facing a road. We do feel as though that's an appropriate deviation as part of the CSP. The other one is the large letters that are on the back. If you can orient yourself, those are the ones that would face the adjacent church. Again, not a situation where we're shining into houses. These are very large letters, but again, these are not front lit. These are not brightly lit. These are backlit. So I tell you that analysis no, I've already talked through that slide. That happens from time to time. I tell you all that analysis to make the request for a move to approve this proposed CSP. It's case PZ 2505. It's located at 447 South Old Litchfield Road. Subject to the CSP package and the stipulations 1 through 3 outlined below. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Roach?
Nicely presented, straightforward. I'll make a motion that we approve per the recommendations.
Board Member Darrow, we do have the applicant available if there are any questions. Should there be any questions for the applicant as well?
Okay, whatever.
Thank you.
And the chairman's not online, correct?
No, Vice Chair. The chair has not joined.
There's a motion. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, then we'll move on.
Is that why you wore that heavy jacket, just in case?
I wasn't here for your last ones. Maybe they had something to do with it. I'm not sure.
Okay, moving on. Sorry, I forgot to ask you if you had an opinion, but obviously you do. So it went your way anyway, so.
No, I would want to thank Randy. He was great through the process. We were working on it for months. He's super helpful and he's awesome. So thank you, Randy.
Thank you. Would appreciate that into the microphone, but I'm sure we can. I'm sure we'll pick it up in minutes. No worries.
All right, so now we are moving on to. Let's see, item E, correct?
Vice Chair, that is correct.
Okay, item E, approval of mixed use downtown building. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I appreciate the board's understanding. This was a late add into our packet for you. This came to you yesterday. I'd be happy to go in depth as we haven't had an opportunity for all of you to review this in depth. The other item of note for this item is because this is within Litchfield Square, your action tonight is a recommendation to City Council. Anything within City Center and within agritourism, the Hill, is a recommendation by this board and an approval by City Council. So for this item, Councilmember Brainerd Watson is here. However, she cannot be a voting member in this regard because it will go to her in the next stage. Thank you. So our applicant for you this evening is Tim Boyle. He's in the back row in the fancy suit. The owner is Mike Rudolfo. He is the non-suited gentleman in the back row as well with his son. He is hoping to become the owner. We are the owner currently of this land, but through the RFP, Mike would be taking that over. The address you'll see in quotes is 350 West Village Parkway. There's no building there today, so there isn't technically an address. This is generally the northwest corner of La Loma and Village within Litchfield Square. If you're familiar with where the park is located in the bathroom building, this is directly catty corner to the north and west. And again,
Can you put that up?
Can,
Pictures
yes.
of it.
I'll go back to the previous information just in a moment. So again, if you're familiar with Roundabout, Cache Homes is directly across the street to the west. The undeveloped JDM parcel is southwest off screen. Village Parkway, which is open for traffic today, is directly south, and lots 3 and 4. This would be the Heritage Partners project, which is groundbreaking within several weeks from now, is directly off screen to the east. Vice Chair, if there's a request, I can certainly grab a different image that shows more context than what is being presented.
Right, if you would, just take those two lots, scroll north up to Wichana Drive, which is the closest residential property up there. And just because people will ask me, I live on Wichana Drive, so we can see where exactly it is in relation to where those houses are.
Certainly, be just a moment.
Who's going up there?
You,
No, that's fine, because I went on and saw the pictures.
So Vice Chair, members of the board, I've on the screens around the room, the parcels in question are highlighted in red. I will scroll and just to show relation as far as context. To the north is Luciana Drive. There are 3 houses that back to the open space that bifurcates the square from the rest of the residential. This is an area where it's just about being shown. Let me grab the James Bond. We've recently completed the pathway improvements that connect Fairway Drive into the center and connect right here at La Loma. Scout Lodge is also shown on the screen. Scout Lodge is moving across the street to the north, just again to further separate the square from the adjacent residential.
While we're looking at that, then going to the right is where lots 3 and 4 are. Or is there 3, 4, and 5 over there?
Board Member Derry, yes. So I will highlight in teal lot 3, which is a majority of the buildings,
Okay,
and lot 4 now highlighted in teal, which is a majority of the parking. To your question, those are just 3 and 4. 5, 6, 7 are over here between Church of Litchfield Park to the north and the Tierra Verde Shopping Center, or Tierra Verde Shopping Center to the south, our Central Park directly in the middle. This is an image from October of last year.
not real close to your house.
What's
I'd
that?
say it's not real close to your house.
Well, everything is relative, but for many years, that when we moved in, the old wigwam dormitory was around the corner. You know, we survived that and then it went away, so it's fine. Those are questions I get, or at least there's 6 homeowners, 5 owners that will probably be concerned.
I can understand why.
So, all right.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead and continue on.
The zoning is what is known as CTR. Before Litchfield Square was called Litchfield Square, we just called it City Center. It still has that old designation of CTR. Now, the request for you this evening is a 3-story mixed-use building, retail, office, and restaurant uses, including a restaurant on the third floor with a rooftop patio. And there is a separate freestanding ice cream shop, which I'll show on the corresponding slides that follow. Now, this is a request for you for recommendation on a preliminary design by this board and a decision by city council. We do expect to continue to work through some outstanding concerns and some outstanding finalized designs, and see you once again with an update to what you're being presented with tonight. So I've shown, this is lots 1 and lot 2. In case there's ever a curiosity, there was a belief years ago that we were essentially splitting lots between parking fields and building footprints. So lot 3 and lot 4 almost follow that same suit. Not sure why lot 1 and lot 2 were bifurcated as they were, thinking that one would be parking and the other would be all building footprint. However, that was at least the attempt several years ago as far as how the parcels and lots were split around the square. This is a look at the current site plan. I will use our James Bond tool again to point out some specificities of this proposal and how they're going to amend and be stipulated, but we'll get to that part a little bit later. So the building currently is located at the southeast corner, let's call it, with a open space, open stairwell, seating area, a plaza of sorts, and main entry here on the east side. There's parking here on the north that is intended to be behind the building. We do feel as though the park, being the centralized feature, should have the buildings all wrap and embrace the park so that you do limit the amount of parking that you're walking through as you're experiencing all the development that is occurring. Lot 3 and lot 4 directly east follow the same suit where the buildings are pushed against the park. Parking is pushed behind. The freestanding ice cream shop is located up here. That is intentional. It's next to the pathway. We think it is a good fit for that location. It has direct sight lines into the playground. It is intentional to try to drum up interest and to try and continue to celebrate new businesses along with patrons and those who join the park. Some of the changes that are being considered are right now, you'll see in a dashed line that is somewhat in an arch shape. That is the current curb and the current curb here as well. When this was designated and designed, for some reason, that drive aisle did not align, our road, La Loma Avenue, did not align with the intended drive aisles of the sites. What that meant was, as you pulled into the site here, you ran into the parking, and the parking was set against the property line. Fortunately, our applicant and developer is looking to fix that sort of situation and bring the road, La Loma Avenue, in line with that driveway so that no one has to make an unintended curve as they enter and leave the site. This also prevents those that would have been facing directly with the car across from them, headlights facing each other, to now have the appropriate offset so that cars, interact more naturally. The changes being considered as part of the stipulations tonight, you'll see it before and after on the screen before you, are as such. And excuse my poor penmanship, this is why Mike pays Tim to do the fancy drawings and I have my rudimentary versions.
That was cool.
Thank you, appreciate it. So what these stipulations would entail and the future version that you'll see before you would extend the outdoor gathering space, not only on the east side, but also on the west. This is intended to fully shield the parked cars from more viewpoints, from more view sheds. So instead of, going north on Litchfield Road into that roundabout and looking at parked cars, you would see that same sort of outdoor space, inviting you in. So this is something that is going to be reflected again in the stipulations and reflected in a future presentation to you. Now, that certainly does cut into the parking, and that's intentional. The entirety of Litchfield Square is intended to have a parking shortage. By no means do we anticipate ourselves to be a big box retail center with a sea of asphalt from here to Timbuktu, quite frankly. I don't know if that's a phrase anymore. I don't know the last time I heard myself say that. You won't be parking in the Mickey lot looking to get to Disneyland on tram. It's intended to have that shortage. We intend to build parking garages. We hope when this is fully built out that we've packed in as much as we possibly can. And that means limiting the surface parking on purpose. So again, this just furthers that belief and that intention. I don't have a before and after on the landscaping, but this is the current landscaping that's being proposed. You'll note if you've been in Litchfield Square at all, we have very wide sidewalks as well as very wide paver paths. Those pavers will match in consistency and color and direction and be extended right in here. This is truly an extension of what we've done. We've rolled out the red carpet for these developers to come in, and now we're starting to have, essentially the developers strut their stuff and bring these proposals in. And, we can all celebrate together as we're looking to go vertical, quite frankly. So, considering this whole idea started in 1995, we're almost there, quite frankly, almost there. Here's a look at some elevations. You'll note that we were very considerate and consistent as far as what we consider Santa Barbara, what we consider that Spanish colonial. We always think Wigwam, we think Church of Litchfield Park, we think Litchfield Elementary School. This evolved dramatically from the original proposal to what it is today. And, the best way to utilize Santa Barbara is to point to examples in Santa Barbara as well. Now, we don't expect all of these buildings to be identical. And that's one of the things we're really striving for is, I think, earlier conversations, complementary, but not the same. Heritage Partners does this implementation slightly different, and that's okay, because we anticipate this to look natural, to look as though we are creating our downtown. Downtowns, normally don't come in and do the exact same building like barracks in every single situation. So we do feel as though this is a very appropriate, a very celebratory addition into Litchfield Square. Top left is how you would see it from the east. This would be as if you were in lot 3 or lot 4 or in the park, looking across the street towards it. Again, that stairwell is intended and is outdoor, and it is not, like you would expect as far as fire access. No, this is an architecturally important portion of that site. On the other side, the west side, this would be the Litchfield Road side. Again, this is going to change. Right now, this perimeter wall was, past tense, intended to be an extension of the building. Now, instead, you'll see something very similar you see on the east side as far as the building shifting. No parking to be had on the west side of the building, and something very similar. The bottom image is what you would see from the south, as if you were at City Hall, looking north across all of that area. You'll see the storefronts. You'll see not only consistency in the center, but you'll see asymmetry from left to right. The cupola on the left-hand side, chimney element on the right, you'll see that stacked stone element as if this was a series of buildings that formed naturally and expanded. You'll see trellis features as well that are asymmetric, not consistent. We did not want something that was, you slice it in half and the left matches the right. This is meant to look natural. The other part that is noted, however, is being stipulated and will be advanced and updated as part of the stipulations are the string lights. We are very cognizant that we do have neighbors to the north that would be at a lower level looking up, and our lighting code, which is in city code, not zoning code, our lighting code is very consistent as far as sources of lights cannot be shown. So this will only be something that is updated and amended. Again, regardless of the imagery you see in front of you, this is still preliminary, and the stipulations outline these sorts of changes that you'll see again in the future. Next depiction is of the north side. Now this would be the parking lot side. And again, you won't see back of house. There's always lots of concerns when you have these buildings somewhat floating in space and not against roads or not against, retention basins. How do you handle back of house operations? And we think, Tim and his team have done a remarkable job to ensure that it doesn't feel like the back. there's glazing the windows. You know, you have the open air, second floor balconies that extend in the third floor. You can see on the right-hand side of the image. Now, what is in the foreground, and again, is being worked through as part of these updates, is an addition of a wall. The city has equipment that is freestanding on that pathway in that underpass for the red course. We are somewhat embarrassed by our equipment. It's not the most attractive thing and is something that we're working with this applicant, as he is adjacent to that situation, see if there's a partnership that can be done in order to construct a wall around that area to disguise that. And we are appreciative of that open dialogue we are having right now. Lastly is the current wall. The current wall has an inset of Spanish tile that really gives it a lot of character and design. You know, this isn't simply a perimeter screen wall. This has, you know, the pilasters, and it has the arch feature, and it has, you know, that inlay within that wall. Now that wall will change and amend as the open air plaza expands to the west. This is just a reminder as far as the amount of detailing this applicant and his team have considered. On the right is the ice cream shop. Think of it as a smaller version of the principal building. Not exactly the same, but certainly complementary. And, you know, we look forward to that being a part of this proposal. Now, as far as our analysis goes on this case, these uses, the layout, architecture, the design, these are all exactly what we've been looking for, and we worked through as far as the requirements within section 27C of the zoning code. If you recall, 27C is the city center. This was a new inclusion within our zoning code in order to facilitate the exact right kind of development that we've all been trying to achieve. This also goes hand in hand with our CC&Rs, as we are the property owners. So this is very tailored, very specific. There isn't any opportunity to deviate, quite frankly, as far as retails, uses, restaurant uses, office uses. These are all the kinds of things that we expect and we will see in the future. Now, as mentioned, we will continue to work with our applicant and all the reviewers, which includes Goodyear Fire Department, because as buildings move, fire is going to need to look at that again, just to make sure the hydrants and firefighting is in the appropriate location. And again, this proposed multi-story building and freestanding ice cream shop are a significant boom for Litchfield Square, and we're very appreciative to bring this for you tonight. Now, as far as our recommendation, I'm going to take a quick drink of water because there's a lot to go. Excuse me. We would move to ask you to recommend approval of the proposed mixed-use downtown building PZ 2501, located at the northwest corner of La Loma and Village Parkway, subject to the exhibits provided by the applicant and the stipulations 1-11. Now, as this was a recent addition into your packet, I'd be happy to go through the stipulations and answer any questions regarding them. So one, same one you've always heard and seen. Of course, the building permit is issued by the city, is required before any construction to occur. We don't anticipate it with this one, but you'd still be surprised how many people think that your approval is carte blanche to go do construction, which is not. Two, I talked through as far as any curb modifications within the city's right of way, again on La Loma Avenue, will require full engineering review. Curb line must maintain a consistent angle along the north side of the connecting driveways from the entry through of lot 1 to the entry through of lot 2. Again, we will not have cars conflict with one another. We're going to want to make sure that is the appropriate design. 3, the first and second floors of the principal building shall be no less than 10,000 square feet each. The third floor of the principal building shall be no less than 4,000 square feet with an outdoor roof patio of no less than 6,000 square feet. We are ultimately trying to hit a net site or net building square footage of 30,000 square feet. This is part of your recommendations for you this evening. However, that might be 9,950 on the first, 10,050 on the second. This will again evolve as we continue these conversations. 4, the building shall be centralized along Village Parkway by shifting the footprint and associated outdoor spaces to the west. As talked through, we're going to remove some of that parking and again hide it. A second outdoor space, I've just talked through this one, shall be added to the west side of the buildings as part of the shifted footprint, removing approximately 18 parking spaces. Cool, we're appreciative. A loading zone shall be provided 12 feet width, 45 feet length and a clearance height of 14 feet. This is straight from our zoning code, but we do want to make sure that this is a part of it. We have a size limitation on trucks that enter the square, but with the amount of businesses and life that we do see in this square, we want to make sure that they are not double parked or blocking anyone, as we do have medians within these roads. So we want to make sure everyone can get around safely. Proposed rooftop lighting shall be shielded and directed down to not be visible from any adjacent real property, especially to the north where we do have homes. 8, a request for alternative design authorization is required from the Goodyear Fire Department to support the single point of entry into the site. By default, Goodyear likes to have 2 ways in and 2 ways out. They understand in some situations, like a downtown, where we are limited. To the north, we have an underpass. To the west, we have a very major road, but we couldn't just, cut a driveway in. And to the south on this site is the building. So they are supportive of this. We have worked with the fire marshal to ensure that they will support this, and we do anticipate full support. We just need to do the paperwork associated with it. 9, the following plans are required during the civil permit review to be submitted after design review. This is a unique situation. Projects within Litchfield Square do not require a full site plan. They only require design review. The applicant team has provided landscape plans as well as a site plan to just give more context, more than just the building itself. However, we have not seen any preliminary civil review, and those are listed below as far as the photometric and lighting fixtures, final grading and drainage report, the stormwater prevention and protection plan. I might have one of those P's incorrect. Utilities and paving, fire, waste, vehicle mobility routing, landscaping and irrigation. We've seen, again, the conceptuals, but not the actual staking and installation, that sort of stuff. The geotechnical evaluation, again, because this was a site that we've backfilled. What I mean by that is we've put extra dirt on there, but we have not dug into that dirt, I'd say. And of course, dedication of cross parking easement. Now that's, again, that cross parking is already codified. It's in our CC&Rs. But again, this is just a reiteration that it is something we would like to have part of this. Last 2. 10, civil and building plans can be reviewed concurrently and approved, but we do need Liberty Utilities to ultimately sign off as our water and sewer provider. And lastly, conceptual signage is not reviewed as part of this application. It was shown on these exhibits, but that is not part of your purview or mine this evening. We will need separate sign approvals in the future. We do anticipate these sorts of developments having a comp sign program very similar, again, because they're looking to create that sort of stuff. In case there's any concern, I've put the same recommended motion here at the end. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The applicant and team are available for you. And I do have a somewhat flyover rendering that the applicant has provided. We can either look at now or throughout the questions.
Do any of the members have questions for Mr. Plummer? Great.
Yes, I would like to see the rendering, I think. I have some questions, or some comments. So one of my questions was the signage, but it sounds like that's not part of what we're recommending.
So Board Member Dudley, any sort of signage being shown is conceptual in nature and not part of your design review application for you this evening.
Okay. I guess I just, as part of what I would personally recommend is I would like to see that signage kind of be a little bit more consistent someday. I mean, this future comment, I guess, but just given that this is such like a visual or a like high vis, project and location, I think it would be really important to kind of try to maintain a visual continuity in the signage so that it doesn't become kind of, I don't know, visually chaotic a little bit, yeah, so, but I know that's not really what we're talking about right now. I guess I was also recommendation 3 when you were talking about like a rooftop, like essentially almost like requiring them to do a rooftop patio. I love the idea of a rooftop patio. And by the way, I'm excited about this package. I think it looks great. And I agree that it has a lot of the Santa Barbara, it's bringing in the a lot of those design aspects. So it's very cool to see. But I guess I was just wondering, like, I would love to see if maybe you could leave it open for them to explore maybe the roof or doing a patio on the second floor instead of the third, because I think like a rooftop patio is gonna be very open to the elements and may it be a challenge, like there might be a lot of umbrellas that then are needed, or and with wind, it could be an issue, so. I don't want to, with our recommendation, box them into not being able to explore other options, to maybe make that like a really comfortable space for the future. I don't think I really had any other questions. I do want to, oh, I guess maybe the stacked stone, that was the one thing that I noticed. I'm a little concerned about that just because it's like not really a very honest material. It's like a facade, right? And so, and I think that there's a lot of dimensionality in this building anyway, that's going to make it really sharp without that additional element. So I guess I'm wondering, maybe a rendering might change my mind a little bit on that, but that was one concern I had. I guess I wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. So, Vice Chair, Board Member Dudley, that is the goal and the joy of you seeing this twice. So as this is preliminary design, and we do anticipate coming back to you, all of this recommendation and this conversation is part of the next phase and the next, let's call it a resubmittal, as far as what it'll continue to evolve to be. So, certainly I'll take that feedback, the applicant and their team will take that feedback and see if there's evolution to be had. And I'd be happy to run the rendering for you. It's just under a minute.
Oh, okay.
Very quickly, in addition to this being sort of a preliminary review that doesn't bind them or the council, when they come back with this, with the next proposal, that still is only subject to our recommendation. It'll still fall upon, the council. So even on that one, it's not a done deal where they're locked in stone until the city council approves it. Okay, if you've got a rendering, why don't we go ahead and.
I do, and Vice Chair, just to further that thought, when you see this next time, there'll be a much shorter list of stipulations. But as part of your recommendation, if your recommendation is to modify or add a stipulation that corresponds to that, then, and you get a second, and then there's a vote that says that's the direction this board wants to go, that modified recommendation will go before city council to accept, modify once more, or, go through it as they see fit.
Correct.
I was expecting narration from the architect as part of this.
This is.
Oh, sorry, it's part of the video. That's joke.
Oh, you thought I would report it?
Yes.
What it looks like from the street. Over there. We do have other, do you have the other 3D images? Ready? All of
I just for this conversation, they're a bit outdated, as you know, the project has evolved. Yes, I do have those available.
So, if you want to kind of see the 3D dimensionality and how that can still work, but works with everything else.
So the only thing I would just caution this board in that is it's not part of our packet this evening. So having modifications to the packet I wouldn't want to stray in that situation.
I thought I might have answered. His question.
And I guess, that comment is not necessarily part of what we're recommending right now. So I guess I want to take the opportunity to kind of give that feedback as just a point of information. It's just one opinion, but anyway. There was one more thing that it's not exactly part of this package, I guess, but when I'm looking at these packages kind of coming in and I see all of the parking and we're talking about parking, I don't know if I think it's not appropriate probably for it to be as part of this, but if we're making recommendations to the council, I would really love to open the discussion of having a non-paved parking, like looking at non-paved parking because of the heat island effect. And, I think we need to be concerned about that for the future. And I think there are many wonderful examples of permeable parking that is, an option that could be considered. So I just wanted to also kind of throw that out there a topic of discussion when we're talking, since we're talking about so much parking. Like it's, I mean, you look at the lots and it's like almost all parking, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to say that as well.
Okay. Are there any other questions with the applicant or his attorney want to add anything?
I think that.
No.
We're well represented.
Okay.
I just got a
Yes.
couple out of curiosity. Elevator,
Yes.
okay, and
Kidding.
then
Oh. I don't see official.
Bas-
Making the same stuff you did.
have you considered a basement?
We have.
Especially since that earth over there is pretty soft anyway.
Board member Dare, board member Derry, there does plan to be an elevator. That one angle you saw with the big round entrance, that's a lobby that has an elevator that would take you to the second floor or the third floor. We have not considered a basement at this time. But that's correct. The ground is already pretty loose, so.
Yeah, until you get in there and realize what kind of compaction you need. And then on the back, that 45 foot, that's where all the delivery and trash pickup and all that stuff is supposed to be handled. And then hopefully the carriers will show up early in the morning or late at night. So it doesn't affect the backside.
So Board Member Jerry, the trash enclosure is independent of the loading zone. We wouldn't want to be in a situation where one blocks the other, so those are separate. The square itself has limitations on truck size and truck hours as well. So we don't expect any deliveries overnight intentionally. Right now, Tierra Verde Plaza, I don't know if it has a formal name, Commercial Center, has a great example. From time to time, you'll see the Cisco truck in there and how that has struggled with how it's been designated and designed. So certainly that's our parable of sorts of how we've learned from and look at these projects moving forward. The other part about the basement, we found 600 telephone lines to the wigwam as we were digging. And so we would prefer not to go down again because we're.
Is that trunk line sitting right underneath where lot 1 and 2 are?
That one is not. I don't think we've had the opportunity to dig down to see what we could find over there. So,
Because the going to the east,
yes,
that little telephone building.
that's correct.
Do you know what that really is there for?
So,
Luke Air Force Base. That's why you will find lots and lots. And when they were digging, I think early on, when they put the little box underneath
Mhm.
the center there for water maintenance, I think they hit or came close. They didn't hit, came close, but you know.
That's correct.
The phone company was really,
That's correct.
all of a sudden, there was a lot of people that showed up that day.
And Blue Stake wasn't always a thing many decades ago.
True. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, would someone like to make a motion?
Get to the right page and you can read it.
So don't do it, I don't know why.
And then I'll second yours.
And board members, as this is one of particular interest, a verbatim reading of what is on the screens would be the most appropriate way we can do this.
So I need to read the full,
I would appreciate it.
okay. Okay, well, then I guess I will recommend that we approve the preliminary designs with the requirement that final plans be resubmitted to the DRB for recommendation on final approval by the council, subject to the exhibits provided by the applicant and stipulations 1-11, which are as follows. Number 1, a building permit issued by the city will be required before any construction is to occur. Number 2, curb modifications within the city's right of way on La Loma Avenue will require a full engineering review. The curb line must maintain a consistent angle along the north side of the connecting driveways from the entry throat of lot 2 to the entry throat of lot 3. Number 3, the first and second floors of the principal building shall be no less than 10,000 square feet each. Could I amend this one to just say 30,000 or 330,000 square feet total? this is the one that I was a little bit, like, if they wanted to play around with, not rooftop, they don't want to box them in, is what I'm trying to say about, like, where the square footage is expressed.
So, Board Member Dudley, I didn't want to interrupt because you're on such a roll.
I'm sorry.
I did not, I'm sorry if I misstated. I don't need all stipulations read out.
Oh,
I just need, how it's written on the TVs on 3 sides of you, as far as,
the bottom one.
that's correct. As far as,
Okay.
as
That's
far as
so much
the
nicer.
the request for you this evening. However, if your motion and, that will be on the table is a modification of one, please let us know so that we can capture that in the minutes, and then we'll see if there's a second to move that forward.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so I think I would maybe just like to amend the number 3 to instead of say rooftop patio space, just say outdoor patio space. Could that work? And then they can, and maybe they don't want to look at something different, but for me, when I look at that rooftop, I just think like, oh, that's gonna be hot. That's gonna be real hot even in the winter. So I don't know, but
So, Board Member Dudley, what we would do is, I'm just gonna capture it and read it back to you to see if it is in agreement with what you're stating. So this would be as follows: recommend approval of the preliminary designs, the requirements of final plans be resubmitted to the DRB for recommendation and final approval by the City Council, subject to exhibits provided by the applicant, stipulations 1 through 11, with number 3 being modified to state, and that's where I need you to stay how you would like to.
mhm,
Speak now, otherwise
No.
next meeting you'll have to say it again.
I know.
Now, I don't want to influence your decision, but I will make a clarifying remark that may assist. Joe's not sitting right here next to me, but maybe he'll email me tomorrow. For number 3, I would ask if you intend to say, the first and second floors of the principal building shall be no less than 10,000 square feet, and the third floor of the principal building shall be no less than 4,000 square feet, excuse me, with patio space no less than 6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I would just
I think that's,
just remove the words outdoor and rooftop. I think capture what you intend.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So let's start again. I don't want to make that.
Right. All right, so I'm gonna move to recommend approval of the proposed mixed-use downtown building, PZ 2501, located at the northwest corner of La Loma Avenue and Village Parkway, subject to the exhibits provided by the applicant in stipulations 1 through 11, with 3 amended to read: the first and second floors of the principal building shall be no less than 10,000 square feet each. The third floor of the principal building shall be no less than 4,000 square feet, with patio space no less than 6,000 square feet.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Okay.
Is it too early to ask what kind of ice cream you're gonna bring in?
So now. Okay, now, is there a staff report on current events?
Yes, board members, hello, happy new year. I know we canceled our January meeting in November, so I apologize for those of you who reached out wondering if you had missed the January meeting. No, you didn't miss the January meeting. It was not a January meeting. And again, that was due to the holiday. And it was the immediate day following the winter break. And again, staff would like to recognize City Council for their consideration for having the Hollow Week or the winter closure between the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday. Certainly was appreciated. As far as staff updates, I will tell you that my intern who said he was coming tonight is missing. That'll reflect poorly on his proposal. I have currently 2 interns from Arizona State University. They're both graduating in May. One of them is working through course credit earned. He'll earn 3 credits by being with us for 135 hours or more. Our other intern, you have to work with me because it's a bit of a separation here. Her cousin is the great grandchild of Bill Tainter, who developed La Casa Linda directly across the street, as it were. So, and our other one who's working through course credit is lives nearby as well. So we're very happy to have them. They'll be with us through May, through graduation, and my goal is to have them hireable and out in the workforce as quickly as possible. I had to remind one of them who asked if there were opportunities here. I said, unless you run me over, no, and please don't. Is I enjoy this job. A couple other items of note, accessory structures, as you can see tonight, continue to be a conversation. And I reached out to all of you last year because there's a lot of conversation and questions as far as what's right, what's wrong, what should be approved, what should not be approved. I've considered that feedback. We're going to move it forward through Planning and Zoning Commission. As ironic as that sounds, text amendments go through them. They affect you, but certainly through these staff reports, I'll be happy to give any updates on that. Setbacks, not really a concern of the GRB, but we do like to make sure that you're aware of, department updates. There's a lot of projects in the city that their zoning setbacks do not follow the built conditions, and they're all grandfathered essentially, or legal non-conforming. We had a recent instance where a potential future resident was denied her funding through her bank because it is a maximum of 50% of damage you can rebuild, but anything more is you have to meet current standards. We had to work very quickly with the realtor, with the lending company to address those concerns, and she was able to close on the house. That's something that's been a thorn in our side. This is something that's been brought before you by, the Woody Scouten days, by the Jason Sanks days, the Pamela, the Daniel days. That's always been about to get fixed and has not been fixed. I do intend to have that fixed in 2027. Right now, over the next 2 years, we're trying to do Litchfield Square and La Loma. I'm starting to lose my audience, which is okay. And get these special projects done. And we know we do have deadlines with those special projects. The first of note, La Loma, we had a charrette meeting with some of our council members. Thank you for your attendance. Last week, we had an open house meeting of sorts. We had a nice piece of technology that really gave good instant feedback. We had a paper version for those that were not able to use it through their phones. The results are what you see in front of you on screen. These are also available on our website. The surveys do remain open. We will put it out in City Line at the next quarterly issue to continue to provide feedback as far as the types of amenities and programming on the Hill, along with the school, performing arts center, and library. From left to right, it goes botanical gardens and walking trails, Ramadas and outdoor concerts, and works its way down towards opposition of things like the recreational courts and skate park. I will tell you that staff is very thankful for Mr. Rodolfo and his team, because through his architect, we were able to connect with the landscape architect that did the Japanese Friendship Garden and some of the botanical garden installations. So he has had a keen eye, and we do intend to utilize his services as we look to beautify that space once more. As far as Litchfield Square, next time we have this conversation, there will not be any construction. It's every last little punch list item is being addressed at this time. The flagpole went up today in the Rose Plaza directly south of the amphitheater. The Blue Star Moms Memorials was delivered to me today. It's perfect. It survived shipping. We'll get that installed in a dedication scheduled in the future. We'll certainly extend an invitation for that dedication. I'm trying to figure out if Memorial Day might be too hot, but certainly it's very much in line with the intention of what that is. There's just a couple last little details that are being done. Half the crew has moved on to other projects. The fencing will come down within, I'd say, the next 10 to 12 days, and we'll be good to go. As you know, I can't answer any questions on this item because these are not things that are agendized. Should you have any questions, please reach out. I'd be happy to make any of these a item for the next meeting. And that is the end of my staff report.
Okay, thanks. Do any of the members have any comments or events?
So did I understand that from what I'm seeing, 1 and 2 are gonna be, start to build before 3 and 4.
Board Member Derry, I'm gonna think carefully how I'd like to answer a clarifying question, which I did not present clearly in my staff report, as we cannot have any sort of back and forth dialogue. So as part of my update, I may have neglected to add this part of it, that lot 3 and lot 4 are obtaining a hydrant meter from Liberty Utilities to start wetting that dirt and mobilize. We expect them to mobilize and put up construction fence, ironically, probably when our fence goes down, but that's okay. We don't mind. They are going to use a portion of Scout Lodge for staging their equipment. They plan to have all disciplines working on the parking lot and curbing at the same time as the building pad. So they're working through their logistics of trying to make that all work. They may use a portion of lot 1 and lot 2 to do some of their staging. We anticipate that lot 1 and lot 2 will go through this DRB process and city council process in the coming months. They will then work through construction drawings. Or I should say that applicant has the opportunity to be a one-man shop. So there aren't partners or concerns about banks that some previous people have had. So we do anticipate that to move more efficiently than previous proposals. And that concludes my staff report.
So you mentioned Scout Lodge. Physically, it's getting picked up and moved
That
or
one's,
not.
that one's not on the agenda, but I bet if,
Well, I know this is just after the fact, but,
well, I know, that's exactly what,
oh, we have to close the meeting, then I can
then you can
talk.
go talk to him. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a
So moved.
second.
Motion is second to
Thanks, Brian.
close.
Thank
In
you.
favor of closing,
Bye,
say
Brian.
aye, aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you for the new little computers. Just